Farms, how high can this thing possibly go this cycle? Let's take a look at that today. So I got some comments last video I put out asking about Bitfarms specifically, trying to do a price prediction on that. And you know what? I'm thinking after a couple of days of pretty intense red in the majority of our miners, it might be time for a little bit of hopium here. So let's take a look at what potential there is in Bitfarms given their growth plans, given their dilution that's on the table, given a few other factors at play. Let's make some speculation. Of course, this is all speculative. None of this, take it with a grain of salt. Everyone's got a price prediction and they all suck. So, but it's also a fun exercise to do. And it gives you, a little bit of hope when things are down, thinking about, oh yeah, okay, this is why I was in this in the first place. So let's move from here. So first of all, today, Bitfarms, well, this was yesterday, 226. We're actually up a little bit today. Let's see, BITF stock. It is up 227, 1.1% today. Over the last 6 months, we're up 102%. Keep that in mind. Remember that. If you've been in this thing for 6 months, you're up 102%. Now, if you're in here for only a month, you're down 34%. That's a little less fun. What about year to date? Minus 20%. How about last year? In the last year, we're up 150% if you've been holding this for a year or more. Anyways, just things to keep into perspective. What about the last 5 days? Down 1%, 2%. Okay, not so bad. It's just kind of back and forth, sideways action. This is a very different view than I usually give on this channel of the price action. Usually it's the candle chart. This is a little bit interesting how you can see how this average price here has been about 226, which is where we currently are for the past week. But so a few things to take into consideration. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to look at market cap or potential market cap, and then I'm going to look at shares outstanding in order to come to a potential future price on this. So there's a few things we need to talk about. So currently the shares outstanding on Bitfarms is 273,907,000. That's a lot of shares. And they are growing those shares. So they currently have a 375 million at the market equity offering program. Now that doesn't mean that they have to do that all at once or even that they've done it yet. It just means that it's on their books, something that they can do, a lever they can use when they see fit or feel as though it is necessary. All right, so we've got Ben Gagnon on of Bitfarms explaining a little bit about how Bitfarms manages shelf offerings. This is on the McNally Money channel. If you want to see the whole interview, go over there and watch it. It's quite interesting. I'm just going to show a short clip to provide the base layer of how I'm going to make some of my decisions here in this video about that price prediction for Bitfarms.
Diluting shareholders for, let's say, just for growth's sake, that's something that we as a company would not do. We are only going to be, exercising our ATM program for growth opportunities, pure growth opportunities. And that 375 that's out there is more than sufficient to cover our growth plans for this year, to hit that 21 exahash target and buy all the miners and build out all the infrastructure. And it's not all going to happen, all at once. Like, these are multi-year programs. And you always build in more than you would need in the shelf offering so that you have that flexibility in that future. So, if you go back to our previous shelf offering, we didn't use anywhere close to the full amount under the shelf offering, over, I think, the 2-year period that it was active. I think we used somewhere around 50, 60%.
Okay, that's all I wanted to see. So he is saying that they don't, one, it's a long-term program, so it goes over a couple of years. They don't use it, and they build in a significant amount more than they're actually going to need and use. And he's saying last time they used about 50, 60%. So for the sake of today's exercise, I'm going to say that they end up using about 60% of this. So that's 375 times by 0.6, about 225. All right, 225. How much would that count towards? So, and they're also not going to likely do it at the bottom of the market where we are right now. They're probably going to put it somewhere closer to maybe like that $3, $4 level, somewhere at a higher price than this, because this money will go further if the price of the stock is higher. So if they're achieving some of their goals, building out their plans already, like they've already had miners delivered, they're already building out their exahash, do they necessarily need to dilute the stock at this time at this very low price when the stock has potential to be 4, 5, even $6 when they could start diluting it there. So I'm going to go ahead and take some liberties here and assume that they don't start diluting till, let's say, we see like a $4 stock, like right? Let's just, for the sake of even numbers, $4. So if we take 225 divided by 4, we're looking at another 56 million shares. So if we go over here, shares outstanding, 273,907 currently. Let's add that to our pool. 330 million shares. Okay, so that's where we're looking at in the future. We're looking at a potential of 330 million shares. Now, obviously, I've taken some liberties in this assessment. Obviously, all this needs to be taken with a grain of salt. None of this is based on pure fact at this time. This is not financial advice nor a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. It's simply an exercise in reminding myself this is why I invested in Bitfarms in the first place. This is where I think it could go based on, facts as well as a bit of speculation, because, this is a highly speculative market. So, take it all with a grain of salt. None of this is really fact at this time. So we got 330 million shares. How high can this thing potentially go? So they want to build out 20 exahash. Let's assume that they get their 20 exahash that they're looking for. If we go to their market cap, their previous all-time high market cap was 1.5 billion. Now they were a significantly smaller company at that time. They had way less exahash than they're currently trying to build out. They're trying to triple the exahash they had when they were making this market cap. So so at the base case, let's say they could triple this market cap, and that would put them at 4.5 billion. Okay? All right. So this is going to be best case scenario based on their previous market cap history. So we got 4.5 billion, divide that by 330 million. Okay, 1362. That takes us to $13.62 if Bitfarms is able to triple their previous all-time high market cap, which isn't super out of the realm of possibility. I mean, just look at coin market cap. I've shown you this before. If we come down here, we start scrolling down, seeing coins that do absolutely nothing. Dogecoin, $20 billion. Shiba Inu is worth $15 billion. If we want to go down and see what's worth $4 billion, 4.5, Arbitrum, they actually do something. I'm not going to pick on them. Ethereum Classic, all right, $4.2 billion. This thing does nothing. This came up when Ethereum had a hard fork into its current state. So this is what Ethereum used to be when it first came out, $4.2 billion. I believe that a company that is supporting one of the most important networks on the planet has the potential to actually reach the market cap of something that is completely worthless. So $4.5 billion, not out of the realm of possibility. Okay, so let's look at a best case scenario. Best case scenario, so this is Marathon. Marathon's been operating with less than 20 exahash for a while now. It's kind of embarrassing, to be honest. Anyways, I'm not going to talk about that right now. That's not the point. The point is that even with that being the case and them having poor efficiency in their mining rigs in terms of keeping them up and keeping the hash rate that they have online, they reached a market cap of $7.56 billion. So for the sake of argument, let's say 7.5. What we could logically expect that Bitfarms, that they're going to match a similar hash rate, be producing a similar amount of Bitcoin in that respect, that they will have the potential at least to reach this goal of $7.5 billion. So let's go ahead. Let's just get this out here. Bring out our calculator again. Okay, let's say, what if they got to $7.5 billion? So remember, last price was like 13.5, 1350. And now if they reach this very lofty goal, which isn't unrealistic, but it will be very tough, of $7.5 billion, their price would be $22.71. So my absolute top end goal for Bitfarms is going to be about that $20 to $22 range. And so this is absolute best case scenario, and a scenario that I'm if it doesn't quite get there, but it does hit like $13, I'm going to be looking at 13 as a potential top as well going forward. So that's just a little exercise, just a little bit of hopium. Bitfarm's currently at 227, 226, has the potential to 5, 6x to that $12, $13 range and potentially beyond up to potentially, if all things, all the stars align, that $22 level for Bitfarms based on the calculation of their current, incoming dilution, assuming they use 60% of their shelf offering as their chief mining officer mentioned with their previous shelf offerings, they used about half or a little more. So we put that into the calculation and a potential future market cap in the bull run, given their hash rate plans and how big their company will eventually be based on their roadmap. And then we added in a little bit of complete, massive speculation saying, well, maybe they'll reach, Marathon's previous all-time high market cap of $7.5 billion. What would that look like? So, and that would look like about $22. So that's my absolute top end sort of idea of what Bitfarms could potentially do. It's that $22 range. One last thing we're going to look at today is Bitcoin. We're looking here at the daily chart for Bitcoin. As you can see this morning, we came all the way down to $60,000. If you have a crypto portfolio, it's been pretty dramatic in the movements that have been occurring in the last few days since March 14th. Really, we've been in this pretty intense downturn. I mean, it feels intense. It's really not that intense for crypto. If we bring out the ruler, I don't even think it's much at all. Let's see, it is a 17% drawdown so far from the peak, which is a lot in like regular stocks, but in crypto, honestly, that's a pretty average move down. It's not a full correction. Honestly, we'd be seeing more like 30%. That's what we could expect. And if we saw a 30% drawdown, where would we be looking at? We'll go about there. We'd be looking at 51,691. So about 51.6 or 51.7 we'd be looking at if we got like a pretty decent pullback in crypto terms, which would be 30%, which would honestly just take us to this level of support right here that we had, that we started building in February 15th until February 23rd before we had this current run up. Right now, we're sitting on support that started building on February 28th to March 3rd at that $60,000 level. So if we break through $60,000 and get under it, we are very likely going to come down to $52,000, maybe 51.7, and see that full 30% move down on Bitcoin. Now we are bouncing, which is promising. We're not really bouncing off of any SMAs. We're kind of in no man's land there right now. Let's see if there's anything on some other time frame. Okay, so we hit the 200 on the 4 hour and bounce. So that's pretty promising, especially with that nice wick. We came up into this empty space of volume here. And this empty space of volume that we are currently in is a bit of a speed ramp up to back to $67,000. So I would expect a move up to about that $66,000 level before coming back down to test the 63,000 again inside of this volume profile pocket. If we got below and closed below 62,000, 56,000, here we come. 56,000 is not a strong support. The next strong support is back where we said at that 30% level down at 52,000 on the volume profile. And that's why I like to use volume profile. It shows like these areas where price can accelerate in either direction pretty well, actually. So we could be seeing a bit of like what we saw in the past here on Bitcoin, where we came down, had a tiny leg up, went down further, had a tiny leg up, and then this huge acceleration of price depreciation, then a tiny little leg up, another big red candle, and I think we could potentially be seeing a bit of a leg up, and then another drop down into the 50s here if things don't improve pretty quick here. So we do need to get through this volume up here and get back over 68,000 before this downward trend here is actually broken. So we're watching out for that 68,000 level or about 62,000 to see a breakdown, and 68,000 to see a breakout up to back to all-time highs. So that's the video for today. A little bit of hopium. Bitfarms could potentially go up to $13.50, or in the absolute best case, $22. We're currently at $2.27. So this is all very just hopium pie in the sky sort of scenarios, but it's a fun exercise to do, keeps you in perspective. Like when price is hitting 10, 11, $12, um, I'm going to be looking at taking profit, taking into consideration what I was doing today, because I do these exercises frequently to remind myself, okay, don't get too crazy. Don't think that this thing's going to go up forever. There is a ceiling. At some point, you're going to have to sell. And if it starts getting towards those valuations, I'm definitely going to be remembering, oh yeah, I need to start looking at selling into this strength before it fails on me. So with that said, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a profitable day.